Every life is a story, every moment a chapter. Here on Slow English Stories, we pause to listen.
Welcome to Slow English Stories.
Today's story is a dark and magical fairy tale.
It is about a kind girl,
A cruel stepmother, and 3 mysterious men in the woods.
There was a man who had to make a choice. His wife was gone. His house was quiet and empty. He had a daughter, a kind girl named Anilla, but he believed they needed more.
In the same village there was a woman. Her husband was gone. She also had a daughter. One day, the woman spoke to Anilla. "Go to your father," she said. Her voice was smooth like honey.
Tell him I will marry him. When I am your new mother, you will wash every morning in fresh milk. You will drink sweet wine with every meal. My own daughter will have only water.
Anilla went home. She told her father what the woman had said. The man was not sure. He looked at his daughter's hopeful face. Then he looked at the cold, empty fireplace.
Marriage is a joy, he thought, but it can also be a torment. He could not decide. He did not trust the woman's words, but he also did not trust his own heart. So he decided to let fate choose for him.
He went to the barn. He found an old leather boot. It was cracked with age and hard work. In the sole, there was a small hole, a tiny window to the ground. He gave the boot to Anilla.
Take this to the loft, he said. Hang it on the big nail, and fill it with water. If it holds the water, I will marry the woman. If the water leaks out, I will not.
Anilla did as she was told. She carried the heavy boot up the ladder. Her heart was a small, frightened bird in her chest. She wanted a mother. She wanted the warmth of milk and the sweetness of wine.
She poured the water in. She watched it carefully. The water filled the boot. For a moment, it seemed to push against the little hole. It seemed to press it closed. The boot did not leak. It stayed full to the very top.
She ran to her father and told him. Lumen sight. He had given his choice to fate, and fate had spoken. And so he married the woman.
The first morning was just as the woman had promised. Anilla washed her face in a bowl of creamy milk. She drank rich wine with her breakfast. The woman's daughter, Kunhilda, washed in plain water. She drank plain water. Anilla felt a warmth spread through her.
But on the second morning, there was only water for both girls. And on the third morning, a terrible change happened. For Kunhilda, there was milk and wine. For Anilla, there was only a small bowl of cold water. And so it was from that day on.
The woman's promise was not just broken. It was turned around, like a knife twisted in a wound. She had become Anilla's stepmother, and her heart was a stone.
The stepmother's hatred for Anilla grew every day. It grew because Anilla was kind and good. But most of all, it grew because Anilla was beautiful, and her own daughter was not.
Winter came, and it was a cruel one. The world was covered in a deep, white silence. The trees were black skeletons against a gray sky. One morning, the air was so cold it hurt to breathe. The stepmother came to Anilla.
She held a strange little dress. It was made of paper. "Put this on," she commanded. She gave Anilla a small basket. "Go into the woods. Do not come back until this basket is full of strawberries."
Anilla looked at her stepmother. Her eyes were wide with disbelief. "But there are no strawberries in winter," she whispered. "The ground is frozen solid. And this dress, it is only paper. The wind will tear it apart."
"How dare you speak back to me?" the stepmother screamed. She pushed Anilla toward the door. "Go now, and do not return without the strawberries." In her heart, the stepmother smiled. She was sure the girl would freeze to death. She would never have to see her beautiful face again.
Anilla had no choice. She put on the thin paper dress. Felt like wearing ice against her skin. Her stepmother gave her a small piece of bread. It was so hard it was almost a rock. Then she closed the door. Anilla was alone in the frozen world.
The wind blew through the paper dress. Her feet were numb in her thin shoes. Snow fell on her hair and eyelashes. She walked into the deep, silent wood. The little basket swung from her cold hand.
Everywhere she looked, there was only snow. White snow, gray sky, and black trees. There was not a single green thing to be seen. She was so cold and so hungry. She thought she would lie down in the snow and sleep forever.
But then, through the trees, she saw a tiny light. It was a window. She walked toward it. She found a small house, almost hidden in the snow. Smoke was rising from its chimney.
Peeking out of the window were 3 little men. Their faces were old, wrinkled like the bark of an ancient tree, and their beards were as white as the snow. Anilla felt a little bit of hope. She walked to the door and knocked softly.
"Come in," called a chorus of small voices. She opened the door and stepped inside. The warmth of the room was a miracle. A fire was burning brightly in the oven. The 3 little men sat at a small wooden table. They looked at her with their bright, knowing eyes.
"Good day to you," Anilla said politely. Her voice was trembling from the cold. "Good day," they answered. "What are you doing in the woods in the middle of winter? Wearing such a thin dress?"
Anilla sat by the oven. She let the wonderful warmth seep into her bones. "My stepmother sent me," she explained. "I must find a basket of strawberries before I can go home." She took out her piece of hard bread. It was frozen solid.
The 3 little men watched her. "Give us some of that," one of them said. "Of course," Anilla said immediately. She broke her small piece of bread into 4 pieces. She gave a piece to each of them. It was not much, but it was all she had.
They ate the bread together in the warm, quiet room. When they were finished, the little men gave her a broom. "Go outside," they said. Sweep the snow away from our back door.
Anilla went outside without a question. She took the broom. She began to sweep the deep snow. It was hard work, but she was grateful to be moving, to be useful.
As she swept the last of the snow away, she saw something amazing. Under the snow, the ground was green, and there, growing in a small patch, were the most beautiful strawberries she had ever seen. They were dark red and perfect.
She quickly filled her basket until it was overflowing. Her heart was full of joy and thanks. She went back inside to say goodbye to the little men. As she stood by the door, ready to leave, the first little man spoke.
She was kind to us, he said. She shared her food when she had almost nothing. For this, I give her a gift. Every day, she will grow more beautiful.
The second little man spoke. She was polite and did what we asked without complaining. For this, I give her a gift. Every time she speaks, a piece of gold will fall from her mouth.
The third little man spoke. She has a good and gentle heart. For this, I give her a gift. A king will come and make her his queen.
Anilla thanked them and hurried home. When she walked into her house, the stepmother and Kunhilda stared at her. They saw the basket full of perfect strawberries. Anilla said, "Good evening." As she spoke, a piece of gold fell from her lips. It landed on the floor.
She told them everything that had happened. With every word she spoke, more gold coins fell. They were shining on the dark floor. Kunhilda's heart filled with a hot, painful envy. She wanted those gifts. She wanted to be beautiful. She wanted gold.
She begged her mother to let her go into the woods, too. At first, the stepmother said no. She did not want her precious daughter to be cold. But Kunhilda cried and screamed until her mother agreed.
The stepmother gave Kunhilda a beautiful, warm coat made of fur. She packed her a bag with sweet cakes and soft, buttered bread. Kunhilda marched into the woods. She was feeling very important.
She soon found the little house. She saw the three little men peeking from the window. She did not say good day. She did not knock. She pushed the door open and stomped inside. She sat by the oven and began to eat her cakes.
"Good day," said the little men. Kunhilda did not answer. "Give us some of your food," they said. "No," she said rudely. "I don't have enough for myself." She finished her cakes and bread, not offering them a single crumb.
The little men looked at each other. Then they gave her a broom. "Go and sweep the snow from our back door," they said. "Sweep it yourselves," she snapped. "I am not your servant."
She stood up and walked to the door. She was expecting them to give her gifts anyway. As she stood there, the first little man spoke. "She is rude and has a wicked, selfish heart. For this, I give her a curse. Every day, she will grow uglier."
The second little man spoke. "She is greedy and unkind. For this, I give her a curse. Every time she speaks, a toad will jump from her mouth."
the third little man spoke. Her heart is full of envy and hate. For this, I give her a curse. She will die a miserable death.
Kunhilda waited, but no one offered her strawberries. Angry, she went home. When she saw her mother, she opened her mouth to complain. I got nothing, she said. As she spoke, 2 ugly toads jumped from her mouth. They landed on the floor.
From that day on, she grew uglier and uglier. And every word she spoke brought more toads into the world. Now the stepmother's hatred for Anilla was a raging fire. Every day, Anilla grew more beautiful, and every word she spoke was a piece of gold.
One day, the stepmother took a great pile of yarn. She boiled it in a huge pot of water. She gave the yarn and an axe to Anilla. Go to the frozen river, she ordered. Cut a hole in the ice. Rinse this yarn until it is clean. It was another impossible task, meant to kill her.
Anilla obeyed. She went to the river. The ice was thick and hard. She used the heavy axe to chop a hole. As she knelt by the dark, icy water, rinsing the yarn, a magnificent coach came driving by.
Inside was the king. He saw the beautiful girl kneeling on the ice. Her face was glowing in the winter light. He stopped his coach. Who are you, my dear child? He asked. And what are you doing out here in the cold?
Anilla looked up. I am just a poor girl, she said. And a piece of gold fell from her lips onto the snow. I am rinsing yarn for my stepmother. The king was enchanted by her beauty and her gentle voice. He saw the goodness in her eyes.
Will you come with me? He asked. Will you be my wife? Anilla's heart filled with a light she had never known. Yes, she said, and another piece of gold fell.
The king helped her into his warm coach. He took her away to his castle. Soon they were married. There was a great celebration. Anilla, the poor girl in the paper dress, was now the queen.
A year passed. The young queen gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. She was happier than she had ever dreamed. But her stepmother heard the news. The fire of her envy burned hotter than ever. She and Kunhilda traveled to the castle. They pretended they wanted to visit the new mother.
The king was away hunting. The stepmother and Kunhilda went to the queen's room. They smiled and said kind words. But when they were alone with Anilla, their faces changed. The stepmother grabbed Anilla by her hair. Kunhilda grabbed her by her feet.
They dragged the terrified young queen from her bed. They carried her to the large open window. Below the window, a deep, swift stream flowed past the castle walls. Without a moment of hesitation, they threw her out. Anilla fell through the air and disappeared into the cold, dark water.
Then they put Kunhilda in the queen's bed. They pulled the covers up to her chin. When the king returned, the stepmother ran to him. The queen is very sick, she cried. She has a terrible fever. You must not disturb her.
The king was worried. He went to the bed. The room was dark. He did not see that the woman in the bed was ugly. When he spoke to her, she answered, and a toad jumped from her mouth.
"What is this?" the king asked, shocked. "It is the fever, my king," the stepmother said quickly. "It will pass." The king believed her, but his heart was heavy with sadness.
But the true queen was not gone forever. Her good heart was too strong to be destroyed. That night, a kitchen boy was cleaning the floor. He saw something strange. A white duck was swimming up the stone gutter. It swam against the current until it reached the nursery.
The duck transformed. In its place stood the beautiful young queen. She went to her baby's cradle. She gently picked him up. She fed him and sang to him softly, her tears falling on his small face.
Then she carefully put him back to bed. She turned back into a duck and swam away down the gutter. This happened for 2 nights. The kitchen boy watched, amazed and afraid.
On the 3rd night, the queen spoke to him. "Go to the king," she whispered. "Tell him to come here. Tell him to take his sword and swing it over my head 3 times. He must do it on the threshold of the door."
The kitchen boy ran to the king. He told him everything he had seen. The king's heart beat fast. That night he took his great sword. He went with the boy to the nursery. He hid in the darkness and waited.
Soon the white duck came. It came into the room and transformed into his beloved wife. He saw her go to their child. Her face was full of love and sorrow. As she turned to leave, the king stepped out of the shadows.
He stood on the threshold of the door. He raised his sword. Once, twice, 3 times he swung the shining blade. He swung it through the air above her head. With the 3rd swing, the magic was broken. She was real. His living, breathing queen. More beautiful than ever.
The king was overjoyed. He hid her in a secret room. He waited until the day of their son's christening. On that day, the whole court was gathered. The stepmother and Kunhilda were there. They were dressed in fine clothes.
After the ceremony, the king spoke to the stepmother. His voice was calm and serious. "Tell me," he said, "what is the proper punishment for a person who takes an innocent soul and throws them into the water to drown?"
The wicked stepmother smiled, thinking she was clever. "Such a person deserves nothing less," she declared loudly. "They should be put into a barrel filled with sharp nails. Then the barrel should be rolled down a hill and into the river."
"You have spoken your own sentence," the king said. His voice was like thunder. He stood up, and from a side door, the true queen walked into the hall. She was holding her child.
The stepmother and Kunhilda screamed in terror. But it was too late. The king's guards seized them. They were taken to a barrel filled with nails, just as the stepmother had described.
And they were rolled down the long hill, into the very same river, where they had tried to end a life of goodness and light. And they were never seen again.
That was a dark and powerful story. Goodness was rewarded, and wickedness was punished in a terrible way.
We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening to Slow English Stories. Join us next time for another classic tale.